love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You know, you have to hype yourself up when nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have Welcome back to Ascension with V. I am your host, Stacia Jeanette, aka V, and today we have a special guest that's about to take us on a little bit of a journey about their gifts, experiences, and expertise. And I want to introduce to you Miss Bron Watson. So please tell us all about you, all that you do, and I want to know a lot about your journey, and also I want to learn about the Serenity Project, how it came about, how we got here, and how you came to be this phenomenal beacon of light and inspiration that you are right now. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Okay, so let's give some context here. So, my name is Bron, and I'm calling in from Australia, and so had a few decades around the sun, and I have 5 beautiful sons. I'm married to Paul, 2 fluffy dogs, all of those things. But I started my career in nursing. So I became a nurse and a nurse educator, and I was in that space for a long time. So through that time, obviously when you become a nurse, it's usually because you have that innate feeling that you want to help people. And we all want to help people in different ways. And I became a nurse, and I loved my time in that space. And then as I evolved in my experience and getting into education, seeing the light shine when someone really gets it and really embraces who they are and how it fits into what they're doing was phenomenal. So fast forward to after my 40th birthday, I'm standing there with 5th child on hip, looking around going, is this it? Is this what I've signed up? Lucky me. And I just thought, wait, where am I? And because at a soulful level, I hadn't found my thing. I wanted something more for me because I'd been in this space giving, and then 5 children. And if you've had kids, you know what I'm talking about. Multiply that out by 5, it's pretty full on. It used to take me 15 minutes just to get in the car when they were little because there's 5 boys under 10. And there'd be bags and shoes and there'd be shit going all over the place and trying to get them in the car. It was an absolute debacle, right? And so anyway, no wonder I wanted something for me. So I had friends who were entrepreneurs and business owners, and I thought, well, that looks pretty easy. It can't be that hard. So what was I thinking? And so from there, I actually started my first business called Nurse Power. So I started online courses. So this is 14 years ago. And I started online courses for nurses to learn some of the things that I'd been learning around myself about. I don't want to use the word personal development. I think it's more of an awareness. I think it was more the awareness of finding out, okay, so this is who Bron is. Okay, sweet. And finding out and then being able to embrace that process and being an educator, I thought, well, cool. I'm sure there's nurses out there who also want to do what they want to do, which is beyond work. And that's where Nurse Power came through. And then within a couple of years, I became a mentor to other people wanting to grow online businesses online. So I was literally doing end-to-end stuff online courses, all of the things that are still current, because that's what everyone did, right? That's what the mentors told us to do. And I'm very, very grateful for my time in that space, building a business that wasn't really right for me. And that's the lesson there. So fast forward to 2017, I had my first diagnosis of breast cancer. You know, Thursday afternoon, Bron, you have breast cancer, and no, it's not in the early stages, to the following Wednesday, operating for a full mastectomy. Now, that was... well, I was in free fall. There was literally nothing to process because I couldn't process any of it. And the children and all of the things. So the little one was 8 by this stage. And that was the first real, what I would call a brick through the head to go, Bron, wake up. Wake up, woman. And it was after the second round of chemotherapy that I caught a glimpse of myself. And I was standing there and I had delivered a Facebook Live because I was doing that into your group back then when groups were really big. I mean, they're still big, but they have a very different feel these days. So I did this Facebook Live because you want to do, my belief was that I would deliver what I say I'm going to deliver at all costs. And the cost, my friends, was me. And I caught a glimpse of myself. And first of all, I looked, went, who the hell's that person? Because of course, by then, bald, red, round, massive face due to all the medications and this, and I was so sick. And I looked at myself and I said, Bron, do you want to die? Because you keep this up, you are going to die. I was 48 years old. Do you want to die? Well, of course I don't want to die. So that was a absolute momentous moment. And within 24 hours, I'd shut down my mastermind. I had a lot of people in a mastermind. I was running retreats by this stage and workshops and all of the things that this online space tells you to do. And I had to regroup with no plan B, nothing. And then that's where I think that that awakening of, okay, well, if this is it, now what? And it was more not now what world, it was now what, Bron. What are we going to do, Bron? You and me, body me?
Right.
It's kind of weird. I'm talking to myself. And I did a lot of work in that stage. I had to I don't like the word pivot, but I was having to pivot. Gosh, I feel like a ballet dancer. Pivot. I don't
Shit.
even know what the correct, shift. It wasn't just a shift. It was like I'm shifting timelines almost. I'm like
Yes.
shifting onto someone else's line here,
Yeah.
and because I had to work. We had family. Remembering I built this big thing and I just cut away all the income. So I literally focused on one thing at that time, which was social media, evolved, worked through it, did all my work on myself. And sadly, in February 2023, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a blood cancer. So now I've been down a curable lane of breast cancer and now I'm on a path of incurable cancer of blood cancer. So the universe is going, okay, so now we've got the tsunami smashing me in the back of the head. And because now I had potentially a very finite time. I was given a prognosis and it was a single digit. And I don't talk about that number because that's not relevant because I don't believe it I didn't actually allow it into my space.
Right.
So you know what I mean? You
Yes,
just don't
exactly.
allow it in. You don't. And I didn't know what I was doing at this time, right? So from all of this, all I had was one thing that I'd picked up years ago in another situation, and it was the Serenity Prayer. And the Serenity Prayer comes from Alcoholics Anonymous. It's been around for nearly 100 years. So all of the anonymous groups all have the Serenity Prayer, which is God grant me serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's literally as I am brought to my knees. I wasn't even in my knees. I think I was literally flat on my back by this stage, looking at the world, looking up at this sky. And remember with God, insert whoever you believe. Universe, spirit. I even joke around, go, Dennis, come on, mate. Because it's whatever you believe, it's what's right.
Right.
And that is where I really started to focus on healing. Because healing is all I had, because I had to learn what I can change. I looked, so it was having that wisdom to know the difference between what's changeable, and I call them the controllables.
Yes.
Literally control the controllables, and then having courage. And I believe courage is what drives hope. Courage drives healing, and because it's not for the faint-hearted. So insert whatever adversity you may or may not experience in life. Everyone will have an adversity. So insert your own adversity here, and you want to think about what's finding your serenity. Serenity is not, it's not like, hello, we're here. We are not here.
Right.
Serenity is it's a moment in time because the moments join together, but we can't control it. So it's not a thing. So that's where the Serenity Project came, because I'd started writing a book. I actually wrote my first chapter in 2016. Didn't even know I thought I was writing for the business space, the entrepreneurs. And when I found it a couple of years ago, I nearly died, because you might as well have written a story about me. It was incredible. So think where, when we're looking at these things, that these lessons are coming if you choose to accept them, if you choose to
Exactly.
acknowledge them, right? And it took a lot of believe what you will, Dennis had to slap me quite a few times for me to go, wow, okay. Because I knew in my soul, I knew in my gut, I knew the whole time, but I
Yep.
didn't listen. I
Yeah.
thought I was listening. But when you're working in nursing, full of control, when you have 5 children, full of control because you have to, you actually, it used to take me 3 hours to pack bags just to go anywhere because I've got 5 little people to think of. And boys, love your boys. You know what I'm saying? We can't even bring the same pair of shoes. We'd have one shoe and a thong. It's like, mate, can you at least find the other
Where's your
shoe?
Yeah.
And then out comes this PlayStation. I said, we're not taking the PlayStation. Can you find some clothes, darling? So it's but from those lessons,
Yeah.
it was my whole message in Serenity Project is to listen to yourself, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition because it knows. It absolutely knows, and your body does hold the score, as Dr. Joe Dispenza said. So that's where we've come to in terms of I am the Serenity Project because I'm the beta tester here. I've worked through, but where that's come through, Stasha, is I call it the third space because it's where science meets soul
Mhm.
with evidence and perspective. Now, the perspective comes because I have worked within the health profession. And I have been the patient within the health profession. And let me
Right.
tell you, you think you know, but you don't until you're that person. And top that off with a curable pathway and then an incurable pathway. Like, really? It's like, you can stop now.
Right.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm awake. I'm awake. I'm
I
awake.
got it. Yes.
I
I
got
got it.
it.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, which is why this space evolved because obviously there are times when I think, why am I doing this? Why am I creating a community? Why am I raising awareness for people to be aware that everyone can go on a path of healing no matter what their adversity? Notice I'm saying healing and not healed. So it's a bit like a GPS, right? So you get out your phone and you type in healing because that's where you want to go on your map and you hit the button and what comes up? The blue line. So
Yes.
we follow the blue line, right? No, if you're
Yeah.
in another country, it's even worse because you can't even read it. And anyway,
Right,
off you go on
right.
the blue line and you come to a roadblock or you come to an accident or something and the blue line kicks you off to the left.
Yes.
But what does it always do? It always recalibrates back
Reroutes. Yeah.
to where you want to go. So when I'm talking healing, guys, just think of it as a GPS to
Mhm.
your healing, your
Yeah.
serenity, not mine. You don't want mine. Gosh, please. I've had. So that's where it's all come about. So I know that's a very long, convoluted time of me talking with you, not saying anything, but it's more that. So I wanted to give the context around how we've come from this nursing profession, we've come into entrepreneur land, we've come into cancer land, and now we've come into awakening land.
Yes.
And I think that, if I can inspire people or if we can have a conversation that gets someone to go, you know what, I can do that too. And take out a few of those little hurdles. Sweet. My job is
Right.
done.
Do you feel like it was a challenge for you to listen to your intuition? And did you know that this was an awakening situation for you? Like, did you know this was like God source universe being like, hey, here's these infinite tower moments that I'm going to continue to send you because you've ignored all the other IOUs and emails and text messages and signals and signs that I've been sending you that you've been going the wrong way. This isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Did you, at what point did you say, this is what this is? And then did you find it difficult to release the control and surrender to this process?
Extremely difficult, to be honest. The reason why is, again, because I had been raised as a little girl and then a teen and then a woman and then a mother, that we look after everyone. My help, I really felt, especially going into nursing, when you're making a difference, you can see how you can help. And that can then hide the other side, which is, well, where are you looking after yourself, Bron?
Right.
And so I had been spending my life looking after everyone else. And to change that is very, very challenging for me. So there were times when there were things like letting go of that mastermind, knowing that it was a life-threatening situation. the decision wasn't hard to carry it through. Yes, it's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of things involved. But I knew that it was the right thing for me. So there are times when I resisted the whole way. I resisted because if I looked at it, it's because of wanting to make people around me happy.
Mm.
And my happiness derived from their happiness. So we know that that is extremely unhealthy. All right.
Yeah.
So in the land of addiction, that's called codependence. So we want to, so understanding. So it's sort of been like a gradual shedding, in
Mhm.
terms of the way I envision it. And I worked with the most incredible woman called Kerry Chinner in healing because I knew I couldn't do it on my own. People like you, Stasha, we can't do it on our own. We just don't have the knowledge. Do you think I tried? Of course I tried. I did
Right.
absolutely everything I could possibly do that I could find. But it wasn't until I went, this is bigger than me.
Mhm.
And that was after that second diagnosis because I was heading like diagnosis 23rd of February 2023. Bron, you've got a week before you start chemotherapy and you're heading for a stem cell transplant, which is a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not a piece, it's not an organ, it's your blood
Right.
that is being transplanted. It's not small, it is huge, right? So all I wanted was time to process, didn't get the time. And making peace with things that you cannot change is not easy.
Yeah.
So I worked with Kerry for 2 years. So this didn't happen by accident. And I am so grateful for Kerry, for meeting you, Stasha, and your book and the things, because if people could learn this stuff, their world will change immensely to the world that they truly know it to be, which is where your gut goes.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah. Yeah. We made it.
And I likened it to octopus, right? Which is where you've got all these tentacles or
Yes.
ropes that are attached to you, right?
Yes.
And you can't detach them and you can't just go, oh, get off. You can't do that. So, well, I couldn't. Remember, we're only talking about bronchi. But
Yeah.
what I did was working through rope by rope
Mhm.
and undoing it so it would fall away. And then the next, and then the next. And knowing that multi-generational trauma
Mhm.
and learnings are nobody's fault.
Yes.
Everybody has done the best they can with what
With
they
what they
have.
got.
And my mother has passed away, but I made peace with my dad.
Mhm.
And learning that where did he learn stuff? And so, it's just because it's no one's fault, but understanding that it's not yours to carry.
Right.
All right?
Have
Snip.
it hand it back.
Thank you. Thank you for that lesson. And I literally remember saying the words to Kerry that it stops with me in my
Mhm.
bloodline. Remembering my bloodline is now 5 boys. And now demonstrating that to my children because there's from right now, they're 16 to 27.
Mhm.
And demonstrating how that works through and accepting what I cannot change. They're adults. And I'm really conscious about not having opinions about their life because it's their life. Am I listening? If they ask for reason, we have conversations with reasons and conversation, two-way conversation, but it's their decision. So that's how it's come about in the fact that I feel I'm a better person for me, which means that I think I liken it to, imagine that we have the big pond in front of us and you land in the middle of the pond and then all the ripples that come out and how that may not affect the people around you. But at the end of the day, all that matters is where I land because that's all I can control. I cannot control what other people think and say or think about me. But I can. So that's why I literally, in the health space, I talk that I'm the CEO of my body. I'm the CEO. I'm the one who makes the decisions. And I mean, I'm sure my specialists, like they see me coming out, shit, here she comes.
No.
But
Yeah, like, no.
we have great conversations, right? Because,
Yes.
you know, when it comes to everything, like you can't know it all. How could you possibly know it all? So I surround myself with the experts. So Serenity Project, I have loads of experts within that space because I'm not a clinical psychologist. So we've got a trauma specialist there. We've got a rehab counselor. We've got sports physiology. We've got people who know the things in their lane. And it's equally as important, which is why we talk about science and soul. Because this is not part
Yes.
of the medical, from my experience. It
It's
is not
not.
part of the medical. And to the point, you'd laugh at this. A few weeks ago, I got a phone call about one of my bloods. It was off. They wanted me to take some medication, and it was just a random junior doctor. And I said, and I said, well, I've never had a low blood result like this before. What would that be? She said, I don't know, maybe time. I said, well, maybe you could open my notes, have a little read, and tell me what you think. And so I went back to my specialist and said, look, I just want to give you some feedback because the buck stops with him. It's his team. And I said, I just would like you to please remind your team that there's a human being behind the blood results.
Right.
So that's an example of when I have courage, because not everyone would have courage. Why? Because I've cut off
Yes.
the things that impacted me,
Yes.
whereas I'm now, and I will forever keep learning, Stasha. It's not an end of the road.
Yeah, no, I say that frequently. You're never gonna be like, ta-da, I'm done. I know all the things and I feel all the things. Like, no. But do you feel like did it take you a while to get to that point of being able to go into the doctor's office and be like, look, this isn't how you treat people, and I'm not gonna be doing this, that, and the third? Because it took me a while to get to that point to where I finally went in there
Yeah.
and was like, I'm tired of your shit. Nobody's on the same page and y'all are killing me. I'm over it. I'm done.
Mhm.
It-
Yes, it did take a while because I was finding courage for myself. All
Mm.
right. So I'm finding the strength within myself, which is always, look, it was always there. I just didn't listen because I was too busy looking after everyone else. So, excuse me. And where I'm going in is from a place of empowerment. So
Mhm.
that's why I use the word courage. So courage is hope. Courage is so many different things. So I feel that, yes, it took a lot of time, and yes, I had to learn it. But the thing is, I truly, truly believe every single one of us have this opportunity to learn if we choose to look for it and be open to it. So it's literally opening up the gifts that we are giving, that we have been given. And whether you believe in God or universe or source, I believe it's the same. It's that same innate gift that I have in this lifetime. And that's why the Serenity Project continues, even when I have people say to me, why are you bothering, Bron? Shouldn't you be out looking after yourself and growing vegetables and making sourdough? And kid you not, just look and just having time for you. Yes, but this is time for me.
This is right. What?
And it's thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. So it's not that I'm disrespectful, and I appreciate people's feedback, but it's understanding that it's bigger than me. This message, the Serenity Project message, is bigger than me. So,
Exactly.
and as I said, I have that perspective because I've been on both sides of that bed, and
Mhm.
not everyone has that perspective.
Right.
And qualified to say it too, might I add. But it's not about that. It's not about that. What it's about is just being a piece of the bigger picture where we collectively, even down to coaches and in the entrepreneur space. I wished I'd learned all of this at the beginning before I even hit my first Facebook ad. I wished I'd known all of this then. What a different business I could have had, but I don't regret, because we can't change the past. Remember, Serenity can't change past.
Yeah.
Can't even plan, can't even dictate the future.
Yeah.
What we have is the present. And I feel that's something that takes time, especially when your brain runs away with you and you're ruminating and you're worrying about the next stock. I've had said blood's done this morning and I've got an infusion on Monday. I could be worrying about that now. I don't even think about it.
Right.
I learned that. I've taught myself. And that was why I believe when we do these work, we are healing, which
Mhm.
means no matter what's happening in you, whether it's financial, whether it's personal, whether it's death or whatever, we become better versions of ourselves for ourselves. We're going to get a better outcome. And the research backs that up in cancer research. But in all seriousness, they call it well-being. I just call it being a human being.
Yeah. Do you feel like it has been selfish? Do you feel like you felt like you had to go through the phase of feeling like you were being selfish for putting you first?
Yes, definitely, there were times for that.
Yeah.
Definitely times for that because, um, I would be reading, I would be practicing, I would be financially spending time with Kerry.
Mhm.
The investment of that was huge. Am I grateful? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Every cent, because it's not about the money, it's about what's next.
Right.
So, yeah, there were times that I'm going, but I knew I backed myself
Mhm.
because I'd made the decision at the time that, especially when you are facing something that is incurable and when my time on this timeline is done, I want to be able to go, phew, what a ride.
Right.
And it's not about the death, it's about the dash, as they say, like Bron is from this year to that, the dash.
Right,
That
exactly.
dash, what we're focusing on here, people, is the dash. And that's what I invested my time, my energy, but I'm a better person because I became more vulnerable,
Mhm.
which means my kids especially knew that what they saw was real. Like I didn't cry really for the first cancer diagnosis. I didn't want to upset the children. This time round, because I didn't want them to, because I knew that if I was
Down.
vulnerable, if I was terrified, they would be terrified. And when you're a little kid, that's life changing. So I was so mindful of how my behavior would impact them.
Right.
But with the incurable lane, I was so more vulnerable, which means that it's so more real to me, to the gut, to the intuition, that they embraced it with me. So when I was when I was on a drug, it's called dexamethasone. You get it as part of treatment, and it's horrendous steroid, and it sends you literally stark raving mad, because it's a high dose.
Oh, yeah.
Very high
Yeah.
dose Dex, right? Dex is a very high steroid. So there'd be 2 days when I'd be, and then you get the Dex drop, which is what they don't tell you, is
Yeah.
that you can't have a high without a low, right? So you go up, you go down, and then you equal out, and then you got to do it all again for 16, 20 weeks. And so the kids would call me Captain Dex when I was, because I didn't know. They go, Captain Dex is in the house. And what that did was that was a little way of going, Mum,
We
be
understand.
mindful of your behavior. But people get divorced, people separate, people stop talking to each other because they take it personally. So
Right.
I feel that with an adversity, it's not selfish to look after yourself. It is the best thing you could ever possibly do, is to look after you, mind, body, spirit. When you do that, you are so much better for everyone else. That's the lesson I learned. Did it take a while? Yes, there were times that I'm going,
Yes.
but once I'd made that decision, no,
Right.
I backed myself 100%. Why? Because that's the courage.
Mhm. I learned recently, that courage is essentially just the other side of fear. It's like you sliding the scale from fear to courage and vice versa, where you can easily
Hmm.
slide in your mind, decide if you're going to stay in the frequency or vibration of fear or you're going to change the dial back up over here to courage, on a
Spot on.
situation. And that's
I
what
love that.
you chose to do was instead of leave the slider down here on fear, you chose to turn it over here to the courage, and that's really a
Mm,
valuable skill and asset that a lot of people don't master, at all in any
mm.
incarnation.
And you know what? I never ever thought of it like that. And I think that now that you've got that visual, because it's really, I call it the vortex of fear, right? It
Yes.
swirls, right? And you
Yes.
get sucked into it. And that's okay because that's normal, but you gotta
Right.
get out. And I think
Right.
that's where if people can visually start, because it is a decision.
Mhm.
Did I learn that? I learned it. What I've done is I've grown the muscle of it, which means it
Right.
is not, I now can do it what feels like naturally because I learnt. Meaning that the ruminations and the fear, I could have stayed in that space for a very long time. So one of my fears of this incurable cancer was dying young
Mhm.
and leaving my family, and I was terrified. I no longer am terrified at all around that. Can I change it? No. Can I impact it today? Yes, by focusing on healing.
Mhm.
Am I in control of how long? None of us are in control. Tomorrow's
Right.
guaranteed to no one.
Right.
So so I no longer have the fear of that. I'm not scared. It doesn't fear. I'm not fearful at all. Am I sad, so soulfully sad of what I may leave behind? Absolutely. Of course, but
Right.
I'm not fearful. So I
Right.
think that if people can learn to go, "Well, that's right. Feel, I always say, feel the feels.
Yes.
Feel it, but
Feel it.
name it.
Yes.
And name it. This is the thing. When people are in those crises moments, people go, what do I do? Okay. What I want you to do is feel it. Allow it in. Because you know you're going to cry. You know you're going to get overwhelmed. Feel it, but name it. Name it because psychologically, and the research backs me up on this, when you name that emotion, it separates you just a step, and I liken it to, imagine that when you are faced with this stuff, literally it's so close to your face, but when you name it, it just pushes it out that slight space, and a space is like a pause.
Yes.
Because once you've named it, you then control the controllables. And literally in your brain, you're going, well, you can say, well, what about this? Well, can't control that. Slide that little lever, slide
Yes.
it across, cool, stick it over there because you can't fix it anyway, right?
Right.
Can't fix it. Work out what the controllables. And then that time, that literally then gives you time to reflect, which is to work through this period of time. And then you respond. And responding is so different from reacting. And that's because we've that slider from fear to courage. That is the best lesson I've heard in a long time. Thank you, Stasha. I love it. So
Yeah.
that we're sliding it up, right? And does it mean you slide it all the way up? Perhaps
Right.
not. You might,
Right.
but if you've moved it just a little tiny bit, it's way better than the time before. And I think it really works out that when you work out what you can't control, because there's so many things you
You
cannot
cannot.
control that other people think,
Yes. Yes.
do, see, say, you cannot control any of that. So
Right.
when you let go of trying to control all of that and control how someone feels, and then you've built the movie in your mind, which is an Oscar-winning role, might I add,
Yes.
of the
Yes.
movie, of the projection of the story and how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Because from a spiritual, but also from a scientific method, your brain will believe what you tell it often enough. If
Absolutely.
you tell your brain, oh, I'm such a failure, I'm in so much pain,
Yes.
I'm so tired, I'm so tired, your brain's going, oh, God, well, she must be tired.
Right.
No,
Right.
like, so bring it back to the absolute now.
Right.
And before you know it, you're going to be circling at the top of that vortex of fear. And then slowly, you're actually going to get out of it. And you're going to be able to look at that vortex.
Yes.
You're going to
Yeah.
see it for what it is. You're going to, oh, shite, I'm next to that vortex again, which is normal. Sorry, because why? The feelings are normal, which is
Yeah.
why we want to feel the feels, but not stay there.
Yeah, and there's also, like, in the spiritual realm, like, in my domain of it, there's always this thing of where people are we're kind of doing like a bypassing of it or like a denial of that, "No, no, no, it's only love, light, and rainbows" type of situation, and that's full BS. That's you cannot try to, like, fake your way out of if you're dealing with some, like, immensible, really rough things in your life, you have to acknowledge it for what it is at some point in time, and in the present moment is really the best time to handle it, because when you keep, like, packing stuff down, eventually it just pops out of the closet like a
It'll pop,
giant
right?
monster. Yeah.
And you don't
"Hey."
want cancer to be the monster. Take it from me, right?
Yes.
And I'll give you a little bit of an example of how recently, because I'm very much speaking my truth, right? But I took the courage. I met up with I saw this lady who I'd known for years. I think I don't know whether I told you this story. And I'd known her for a long time. And I thought, you know what? When she says, how are you? I knew she was going to say it. I'm going to speak my truth. So at the time, I actually spoke my truth, which is I am so not okay because I'm in a bit of a vulnerable state with my bloods right now, but I'm absolutely okay. So I sort of told her my truth.
Mhm.
And she just looked at me and went, well, okay, that's nice. You won't believe it, but I'm going on a holiday. And I thought, wow. She didn't even acknowledge it, right? So this is where I learned from being vulnerable with expectation versus being vulnerable. And in that moment, I realized I'd had the expectation
Mhm.
that if I was to be vulnerable to someone, I expected them to be vulnerable and acknowledge me back. And it
Right.
was like, okay, I had two choices in that moment. I could either A, take offense and go, what a piece of
Right.
insert whatever word here, right? Or I can say, I can have compassion, which is, you know what, thank you for that lesson. That because what was important from a spiritual perspective, I've learnt was to let out that truth. When you let the truth out, it is so important. Well, for me,
Right.
that
Right.
and you're the expert, way, like I'm only someone who's so learning in this space. Was that when we speak our truth, that's where I liken it to like being a jigsaw puzzle
Mhm.
and being vulnerable. Say it's a piece of puzzle here, right? And it was like, cool, speaking my truth, right? Cool, did that. In goes a
But
piece
it
of
didn't.
puzzle,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'm such a visual, right? Because I'm an
Yes.
educator, can't help myself, right? So in goes that piece of puzzle. That was the important thing in that moment,
Right.
not my friend's response.
Yeah.
Because not everyone has emotional intelligence, people. Not
Right.
lots of people
Literally.
can't even literally because why? They've bypassed, like what you're saying. They have
Yes.
bypassed this whole part of their world
Yes.
and one day it will pop. And
Yes.
it's not our responsibility. We can have love and compassion. So I, in that moment of time, could have taken it, oh, well, I can't be vulnerable because, people don't care, which is one way of interpreting that situation versus sweet, well done, Bron. In goes that speaking your
Check.
truth vulnerability piece of puzzle. In she goes. Why?
Yes.
Because there's pieces. It's like literally doing a puzzle. You can't do a puzzle. I know there are people who can do puzzles really quickly. I am
It's
not
not
that
me.
person.
It's not
That's
me.
not me. So
It's not I.
that's that's a way of looking at that. And the awareness. It's just about that awareness. And
Mhm.
awareness is waking up.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful. And, with someone who's sitting with incurable cancer, you think, oh, Bron, I am not a rainbows and lollipops kind of gal. What I
At
am is
all.
that I'm loving the moment and the joy that I have. And I don't worry about how long it's going to be here because it's not part of my story right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've also learned that, when I was going through all of the stuff with my health stuff, that a lot of times people just don't know how to appropriately respond. You know what I mean? Like, when you've gone through some unimaginable things, like, "Oh,
Mm.
wow, so you almost died once again?" Do you know what I mean? It's like crickets, they don't really know
It's
what to
cricket. They
say.
don't know how. And that's when we learn that we cannot control what people think,
Yes.
say, do. Let Them by Mel Robbins, great book explaining this exact methodology. But when we let them, what Mel talks about is let me.
Mhm.
So there's two sides to this. So it's not that you're saying, and that's where boundaries, that's where the awareness comes and understanding that that work is for you, I'm not doing what I'm doing for my family.
Exactly,
I'm
right.
doing it for
Exactly.
me to be the best I can be for me. And then I think, well, thank God I've learnt it in this lifetime. I don't have to do it again.
Exactly! I say that
Be another
so
lesson, but
frequently.
it is, and I think it's when you because people don't know what to say.
No.
What are you going to say to someone who's lost a child? What are you going to say to someone who's had some tragedy or adversity?
Right.
Acknowledgement. I'm
Right.
so sorry you're going through this.
Right.
This must be so awful. And, my love and my prayers, whatever, are with you because that's all you can do because you cannot fix it versus the mums and the women and the men who are those who want to be. I used to jokingly call myself Mrs. Fix It because
Mhm,
I'd
yeah.
fix everything. I'd fix everyone else's problems and then didn't even realize I had so many of my own. Whereas now it's
Piling
like,
up in the
shush.
closet, the monster in the closet's, like, breaking out.
And so that's I say if that's my lesson and that's my awareness, man, thank goodness. Go
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
And it's forever and it's forever learning and that's the fun part. It's not scary. Yes, it feels scary, but how about we put let's just put a real name to that. Is it scary? Is it really scary?
It's
Or is it
exciting.
it's the fear of vulnerability?
Right.
Don't know. Making it up
Right.
here.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
exciting.
It is exciting. I try to,
It's
like
absolutely.
I try to, like, look at everything from, like, especially when you feel anxious if you're doing something it's something that's new, it's something that makes you feel vulnerable, almost like you're going on a trip overseas by yourself, you know? It's like, "Oh, I don't really know what to expect, and I don't really know."
Mm,
You got, like, baby fawn, fresh out the womb, trying to stand syndrome,
exactly.
but you
And
know.
not knowing how, right? So
Right, yes.
not knowing how, and the saying which Kerry taught me was, "I know I will, I
Mhm.
just don't know how."
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And when you let go of the control, which is what the how is, controlling it, because we as human beings want to know, well, what do I do first, Bron? What do I do? How do I do this? Well, don't do anything. We're just going to be for a moment. We're going to be human
Yes.
beings, not human doings.
Right.
That's why I talk about Serenity Project. It is not a list of things to do. It is absolutely not a list of things to do. You can't schedule it in your calendar. Sorry, people. But what
Right.
you can do is take that moment and learn from that moment. And the more we can acknowledge how we feel, and even when we get triggered by I was talking to someone the other day about the triggers, right? When
Yes.
you get triggered, just pausing
Mhm.
and reflecting and go, well, I'm curious here. What's the lesson in me right now? And yeah, Kerry used to call them shit angels. What's that? It's a shit angel, Bron. Correct me if I'm wrong, because remembering this is Bron's version of a space that I'm only so new in. But she'd say the shit angels. But the shit angels are here, not the shit angels are here to
Mhm.
reflect back the puzzle pieces that are missing. Oh,
Right.
it's another piece. Damn it.
Yes.
Okay. And then I look at that as because it's nothing to do with that person.
Right.
So the anger, the resentment, the sad, all of the things that come up, the triggering is actually you flip that around, you put that mirror up and you go, I'm curious. Where's that showing up in me right now? And most of the time, my shit angels were showing me that I was not looking after me enough.
Exactly. Yeah, mine was all about, like, I didn't have boundaries, and it was I was like, "Why does this
Same.
keep happening?" And then I
Yep.
realized, I was like, "It's because
Yep.
no
Damn, put the
boundaries."
puzzle piece in. And guess what? When that puzzle piece is in, that piece is done.
Go
How exciting. Gone. And you will not have that trigger
again.
in that situation again. Is that not
Exactly.
worth acknowledging and just being aware?
Right,
To
and just
me,
moving on.
and moving on because you've let it be because right, now I get it.
Yes.
Trees. Not looking after yourself, not thinking about yourself, not pausing, not resting. Great, cool. And I'm just literally looking like a puzzle full of little pieces that are still to come.
Right. I love this. Like, it's a world full of lessons going around. You got your little checklist of things that your soul came here to check off and do and accomplish and learn this lifetime. And each time you get a check mark and a puzzle piece, and it completes you even more so as you go through the journey. And it's great. Every person that you meet has a box to tick for you and a puzzle piece to add to you. And
Mm.
it's very much about that journey. Healing is a journey.
It is a journey. It absolutely is a journey. It's never ending. That's why I say healing and not healed.
Exactly.
I know people love goals and I know, well, like we're going to be cured. What do you mean you're going to be cured?
Right?
Well, you're only as good as the results that were taken on the day, people. Did you not realize that?
Right.
You can have results taken today and taken next week and they're going to be different. So
Exactly.
and that's not fear. That is just reality. And I always say to me, I'm as good as my last month results. Well, it's true.
Right.
That's the reality.
Yes.
So, and insert your thing, right? So where mine might be, illness or disease or cancer, just insert whatever it is in your space. It's as relevant to you in that context.
Thank you, Bron. Is there something that you want to close out on that you want to mention? Also, what do you have going on that people can look out for with you? Do you have any upcoming projects or things that people can book in with you by? How do people find you?
Look, I think the best way, it's relative, like I've been, yeah, probably 5 months. So there's a community coming, but I am not opening that for another couple of months.
Okay.
That's my decision because of my capacity.
Yep.
See? But look, if anything is resonating with you, please go to serenityproject.com.au and just sign up for the check-in newsletter. It's literally a check-in. And even though it may be skewed to cancer and those going through cancer or those who are supporting people who have been around it, just so that you might want to learn more in that space, sign on up. We got the podcast itself is called Serenity Rising. And like you, Stasha, we have guests. I'd love to have you on too, by the way. That's another story. And literally find me on the socials, Bron Watson on LinkedIn. Send a message on the website. If you've got a question, you can actually leave a voice memo, like voice text, or write something. I will always respond. So I feel that that's where we're at right now, and together. And if there's someone you know that may benefit, please pass on that detail.
Yes.
The biggest thing I think I'd like to leave, I've found that is such a practical thing, is when things get tough, when those moments come and it doesn't feel great, I just want you to look down at your feet and be where your feet are. Just be where your feet are. So when your brain is spinning and trying to process something that it may not be able to process because we may not be able to fix it, literally do this and feel below your feet. Be so consciously aware of the present and breathe in for 4, breathe out for 6. And you keep doing that because that physiologically will calm down the fight and flight and freeze. And then, because when you go fight, flight, and freeze, people, it goes back to here, reptilian brain, back here, frontal cortex, which is where all your higher thinking and what really matters, and not that it really matters, but where your higher thinking comes from, it literally turns off. So we want to come back because we can't process anything unless we're in frontal lobe. And the only way we can do that is to be where your feet are, where you are calm. So that is my way of, if that ever happens, which it may, please just be where your feet are.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom, your story, your journey, all the things that make you you with us and gracing us with your presence and time. And with that being said, you guys, this has been another episode of Ascension with V. Thank you all for being here.